Hey everyone, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. Welcome back for another weekly rundown with Thomas Queter. This is InspireNation, Robert Murray. What's going on, Thomas Queter? How's it going this week?
Well, we had a heck of a weekend, Robert. Um, I was invited to speak at the People's Convoy uh, rally in Albany, largely against government overreach and executive powers. They don't want governors like Andrew Cuomo or presidents like Joe Biden to be able to restrain our rights over arbitrary situations. They believe that what we did to protect people was equally detrimental to our rights as it was to our health. Our governor forced people who tested positive, people with active infections, into nursing homes that were previously not in them. And then our death rates in the nursing homes went up. Uh, I don't normally like to discuss the whole vaccine thing because it's so full of controversy, but the reality is no vaccine has ever been 100% safe. There's no such thing as a percentage of safe or more or less safe than another. Safe means it causes no harm. But every single vaccine that we've ever used, if you go on the CDC website, has a rate of death and harm. And I think it's a misnomer to label it that way. I'm not saying that vaccines are bad. I'm not that kind of person. I'm saying that we already recognize, we already know that there are those who are negatively affected by vaccines. Some people die. Some people endure lives full of harm. And to tell them it's safe is a lie. It's wrong. It's incorrect. And to try and force it is even worse. It removes your rights, your bodily autonomy, your ability for choice. I know people who are now dead or permanently harmed over this, and it shouldn't have been. There are people who medical science has already recognized to some degree that we know they shouldn't receive vaccines. And it's not necessarily about the vaccine itself as it is the ingredients in the vaccine. We know that there are people whose underlying conditions cannot withstand a lot of these ingredients in vaccines. And they're upset about that. And then the mask mandate, whether or not it's a good idea is beside the point. Forcing it is the antithesis of the rights that our nation was founded on. And we saw this in a county in New York in which an autistic child was forced, or they attempted to force a child to wear a mask. Children who are autistic have sensory issues. It can be a simple touch or a smell or a taste that just really wrecks their world. And when a bus driver tried to force this autistic child to wear a mask, mom got in the way and defended her child, and mom was arrested. I spoke to another woman whose children were removed by CPS because their family had simply chosen to not have high-speed internet. And they had gone to remote schooling, and the claim was that they were preventing them from going to school. Well, that's really not true. During the lockdowns in particular, a lot of people signed up for internet access that hadn't before. Everybody needed high-speed internet. And there was wait time for getting that installed. To my knowledge, last I knew, she still hadn't gotten her kids back. They got high-speed internet as quickly as they could. I don't know about you, Robert, but I think that's wrong.
Horrible.
And I think if we had a significant third party like the Libertarian Party representing us as at least as much as the Democrats and Republicans, we would easily have the kind of consensus and discussion it would take to lead to government action giving advice or supplies instead of giving fines and punishment. Um, don't hurt people. Don't take their stuff. And that's exactly what our government did. It hurt people and it took their stuff. Some of that stuff was their kids. Took their kids.
It's heartbreaking.
Very egregious budget items were passed over this, including a ballot access bill that removed the Libertarian Party's ballot access and tripled the requirement to be on the ballot. And that's what I was doing over the weekend. Not only did I speak at this event, but we petitioned the crowd. We got nearly 200 petition signatures out of that one crowd. And then Larry Sharp and I moved on to Jake Cornell's greenhouse, Haus, in Oneida, New York, where he is supplying people with the legal cannabis they need. But he's still seeing restrictions, right? For instance, you can't both retail cannabis and grow cannabis under the current New York law. And of course, it is still federally scheduled. And that makes it hard to work with your money with the banks. That makes it so that you can't reap the same tax write-offs that other businesses do. And that's going to suppress this new economically sound,
Hey, Justin.
viable market that we need right now. We had over 100,000 small businesses shut down in the first 6 months of the pandemic, and cannabis is an opportunity to help regrow the economy. You can make rope, building materials, cattle feed, human food, biodiesel, ethanol. You can refurbish land, and of course, you can get your medicinal quality cannabis all out of the same crop. And we don't have other crops like that. Suppressing that seems not only like a mistake, but it's not an advantage to those who want to go green. It's the opposite of going green. Go green with cannabis. I spoke to a cabinet maker that kept his prices at the same price when lumber skyrocketed. And he did so by switching to hemp board. Then Sunday, we went to Rensselaer County. I hope I'm saying that right. And we met with Ryan Bedford. He's got a little flower shop in Hoosick Falls, New York. A bunch of people came out to sign the petition and to meet me. It happened to be the birthday of a son of one old lady who showed up, and he had passed some time ago. Not COVID related or anything like that.
Hope you guys are going to thomasqueeter.us. Check them out. Donate to the campaign. If you're in New York, please volunteer.
And she gave me this.
What is it, Thomas?
It says Danny's prayer that you would know how much Jesus loves you. His name is Daniel Charles Gipe, Gipe. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But you can see there's a little wooden cross. There's a picture of Danny.
You put that up again. There we go. Nice.
I consider myself Christian. I'm not the most religious person, to be fair. But I do appreciate when someone says they're praying for me, because that's a sign of intent. It's a positive intent, right? Doesn't matter what religion you are. When someone says they're praying for you, it means they care about you.
Of course.
And Danny's mom told me she would be praying for me. That just kind
Thank
of
you, Danny's mom.
So I just really wanted to share that with you.
That was nice. So, who are we chucking out the window?
Wow. Him, of course.
This guy.
So, in petitioning defenestration has been working for me. For those of you who don't know the word defenestration, it has two definitions. Both stem from the same incident in the late 1400s. The first definition, considered humorous by the dictionary, I don't know why, is to throw someone out a window. Defenestration. The second definition is to remove someone from power. And they both stem from the same incident in which someone was removed from power by throwing them out a window. If you want to find out who it was and how it happened, you can look up the word defenestration on Wikipedia. Wikipedia has the history and the definition. Now, when I got home Sunday, I toured the northern part of my hamlet that I live in, Mount Upton. Everybody I talked to, didn't matter what their political registration was sick of their party. Democrats were sick of the Democrats. Republicans were sick of the Republicans. And, of course, we all know they're always sick of each other politically. To me, I found that to be very telling, right? Everything we saw in the last 2 years, and so many people are sick of the red and blue. That was the message I gave at the People's Convoy rally. And they liked it. My friend Karen was there helping us petition. She said, I got the biggest applause of any speaker there. And I specifically stated how the red and the blue, the Democrat and Republican parties, they cooperate, and that means that they act as one party, and that is OneParty Rule. That was well received. How do you feel about that message, Robert?
About a one-party rule? Repeat the question.
Well, if the Democrats and Republicans are cooperating so much, is it two parties or is it one?
No, it'd be one party, I would think, because it would just be yes or no.
It's kind of like somebody had a whole nother family in another town under a fake ID, right?
Yep. Yeah, I was just thinking about that concept earlier about how the two parties, it's either this or it's not that. So it's easy to make the problem, back and forth.
Well, and you notice the issues they focus on never move forward. The issues they focus on stay the issues. They don't
Right.
actually come up with solutions. Nothing actually gets better or worse with regard to what they're talking about or what they say they want. Take good old Chuck Schumer, right? He is claiming to be pro-cannabis legalization. The MOVE Act is gaining traction. Matt's got it right.
What does he say here? Two parties. That's right.
So the MOVE Act to deschedule and legalize cannabis federally is getting traction. Chuck Schumer, though, is coming up with his own plan, which means
Oh
he's likely
God.
to try to squash the MOVE Act. And his plan isn't going to hit until the midterms, right? What happens in the midterms? What's going to happen? More Republicans are going to win. More Republicans are going to be in Congress. And when that happens, whatever cannabis bill he comes out with isn't going to pass. And this is something he understands. He's been there for over 20 years. He knows what happens in midterm elections. He knows what's going to happen if he squashes this cannabis bill for his own. And that's going to be another source of controversy and vitriol. They're going to fight more and do less. This is why we need people with level heads in politics. If your politician is screaming or blaming or pointing fingers, he's not doing his job. Politicians are supposed to get things done. They're supposed to work together. They're supposed to develop consensus in there. They're most of all supposed to represent the people, not their own interests.
You didn't think you were going to be a politician when you were a child, did you?
You know, at one point, like every child, I did want to be president.
Pretty good.
So, Ryan Bedford gave me something.
Oh yeah.
Libertarian political activism, pro and con. It's a little staple back book, staple bound. I want to read the foreword to you guys. Now, mind you, this is a book that's written by libertarians for libertarians. Forward, Libertarian Political Activism. This book deals with methods for achieving a free society. The authors are in complete agreement that individual liberty is an essential value for meaningful human existence. They are in substantial agreement as to what type of society would be ideal, one based upon libertarian principles. We do not intend to argue the case for individual liberty. The authors, and hopefully our readers, or you guys, already accept that as a worthy goal. The point at issue is how to get there. Specifically, can libertarian political activism help? Will it hurt? Is it moral or immoral? Is the concept, quote, libertarian political activism, end quote, a contradiction in terms? Robert A. Steiner argues the case for political activism. R.S. Taylor Bradford argues the case against. The book is arranged in a debate format, with opening statements for and against political activism, followed by rebuttals and concluding arguments. We hope you will study the issues raised here and evaluate them as if your liberty depends on your decisions in these areas. It does. Leave it to libertarians to write a book in debate format.
That's great.
I look forward to reading it, and I want to thank Ryan Bedford specifically for giving it to me. It's very interesting. And I do collect books. You put that all together, and that's going to stay on my shelf forever. You know, you get a lot of individual conversations when you work a crowd as someone who's running for office. And I wish I could just recount them all to you. But what I can tell you is it's hard to find someone who was not harmed by the government action that occurred. It's hard to find someone who was not detrimented by what we did in the last 2 years. I think it's important that we take a moment and consider what we've lost, who we've lost, why we lost them, and how we lost them, and how can we get back those parts of our lives, like our economy, our freedoms, our rights, and move forward in a positive manner. And, Robert, I think our time is about up. I want to leave everybody with this. It's the same thing I try to leave every crowd I talk to. Our vice presidential candidate last cycle went around telling everybody, you are the power. And I'll add to that, you are the solution. You hold the votes. You have the right to be active in your local government and in your state government and in your federal government. And if you support my messages at all, any of them, you can go to thomasqueeter.us to read them. You can follow the link that's posted in this on the U.S. Senate Facebook page to donate. We're trying to raise money to support our petitioning efforts, one of which is to go to New York City this weekend. If you have $5, please help me out. Help me do what I'm here to do. I'm here to make a point. I'm here to run an election, run for office rather. And I'm here to support Larry Sharp and Ballot Access, the LPNY. I'm here to support our communities, our individual liberties, and every single individual in this country, one way or another. And it takes money to get around. It takes money for hotels. It takes money for gas. You have to pay some staff. It takes money for advertising. It takes money to petition. If you can support what I'm trying to do, consider a donation. You can go to thomasqueeter.us, click the donate button, donate what you can. I know times are hard, but if you got a little bit, it'll help. And let's take a stand. Let's take a stab at the heart of the beast right here in New York. Let's show them they can't win. In the long run, they can't. We can. We can win by coming together as one people and saying we're here to be free, not to be oppressed, not to have our rights taken away, not to have our children taken away, not to have our lives taken away, not to have our money taken away. We're here to show the government how to not hurt people and not take their stuff. On that note, you guys have a good night. Thank you, Robert. I really appreciate this.
Absolutely. Anytime, you guys. Every Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Check us out. Thanks. Hang out in the studio.